This video is for those Beta Club students who miss class on Monday and Tuesday. These problems are coming from the back of the worksheet titled 3/8 Solving Equations and Formulas. It's the side that has all of those fractions where I wanted you to practice clearing fractions to solve the inequality. So these are all about inequalities. I'm going to try to get in as many problems as I can in this 10-minute video. So we did 17 in class. I'm going to complete 18 now. So the problem is 3 and 37 200ths is less than or equal to 2 and 5/8 plus 7/10 are. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to figure out what the least common multiple is. So 200, 8, and 10. For each of these, what we're going to do is we're going to find the prime factorization of each. So 8 is pretty simple, 10 is pretty simple, 200 we're going to start breaking it down into smaller pieces. So 20 times 10 gives you 200. 20 can be broken down into 2 times 10. And then we just carry over that other 10. And then the 10s can be broken down into 2 times 5. So we have 3 2s and 2 5s. So our least common multiple needs to have the most of each factor from a particular number. For example, when you look at 200, and you look at the prime factorization, there are 3 2's used in the prime factorization of that number. In 8, there are also 3 2's used in that number. In the prime factorization of 10, there's only 1 2 used. So what we need to do is we need to look at 200, compare it to 8, and compare it to 10, and see in which number, in which prime factorization is the factor 2 used the most. It's used the most in 200 and 8. There's a tie here. It's used 3 times in each of those numbers. So we need to, in our least common multiple, we need to include 3 factors of 2. We also need to include in our least common multiple a factor of 5. And you'll see that it's used once in the number 10, and it's used twice in the number 200, and it's used 0 times in the 8. So the most it's used, the highest frequency of use is in the 200. So we're going to include it twice in our least common multiple. So now we multiply 2 times 2 times 2, which will give you 8, and then you multiply it by 5 times 5, and you get 200. For most of these problems, it's going to work out that the largest number in the denominator is what we're going to multiply by, but this is not always going to be the case. It's just the case on this particular worksheet that that's going to happen a lot. The next step that we're going to do is we're going to change all of our mixed numbers to improper fractions. So we take the 3 and we multiply it by 200 and we get 600, and then we add 37 to that and we get 637. So I'm going to erase this work that we already did so we have room for this. So we have 637 200ths is less than or equal to 2 and 5/8. So I'm going to take 2 and multiply it by 8, and we get 16, and then we add to that 5 and we get 21/8. And then I don't have to do anything with the 7/10 are. Now we know that we're going to use our least common multiple to clear these fractions. So I'm going to multiply the left side by 200, and I'm going to multiply the right side by 200. On the left side, 200 times 637 is what we get in the numerator, and 1 times 200 is 200 in the denominator. Well, you should see that here 200 over 200 equals 1. So 1 times 637 is just really 637. So on the left side, we're going to be left with 637. Then I copy down the inequality sign, and then I'm going to multiply the 200 times the 21/8. So I'm going to write that out over here. 200 times the 21/8. And then I'm going to add to that 200 times the 7/10 r. And I always write out the 200 or the integers as fractions when they're being multiplied by fractions. Now, we could simplify here. So we could simplify these two because we know that they're both divisible by at least 4. I know they're both divisible by 4. So you could do that at first, or you could just multiply the 200 times the 21 and the 1 times the 8 and get your value and then simplify from there. Either way, it doesn't matter. You'll get the same result. So let's show 200 times 21. We'll show this method first. 4,200 divided by 8. And that 4,200 divided by 8 gives you 525. Now let's look at it the other way. If I would cancel right away, I would say, all right, there are 2 4s and 8, and there are 50 4s and 20. Okay, I can continue to reduce that. There's 1, 2, and 2, and there are 25 2s and 50. Then all I would have to do is take the 25 and multiply it by the 21. And I would also get 525. 1 times 1 in the denominator is just 1. 525 divided by 1 is just 525. So either way, you're going to get 525. Over here, I'm going to use the method where we go ahead and cancel diagonally. I think that method is easier. So I have 1, 10, and 10, or 10 divided by 10 is 1. 200 divided by 10, you get 20. Then I take 20 and I multiply it by 7 and I get 140. I'm going to write that a little bit lower. 140. And then we already have on the left side 637. And we can't forget to bring down our r. So now we have cleared the fractions. So we're going to go ahead and put all of the constants on the left and all of the coefficients with the variables we're going to leave on the right. So on the left side, we take 637 and we subtract 525 and we get 112. On this side, on the right, we're left with 140r. Then we divide each side by 140. And this inequality sign is going to remain the same. It's not going to flip because we never divided or multiplied both sides by a negative number. Now over here, 112 divided by 140, we're going to reduce that. So you should be able to see right away that 112 is divisible by 2. And 140 is divisible by 2. So let's start with that. 112 divided by 2 is 56. And then 140 divided by 2 gives you 70. Again, you should be able to see that those are both even numbers. We could also see that besides being divisible by 2, they're both divisible by 7. So let's go with the larger factor. So let's divide 56 by 7. And let's also divide 70 by 7. And then 8 and 10 are both divisible by 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So r is greater than or equal to 4/5, or you could say 4/5 is less than or equal to r. Let's go ahead and do the next problem. Let me see if we have enough time or we have to stop recording on this problem. And it looks like that took about 10 minutes, so we're going to have to be finished with this lesson, and I'll do another example on another video.